Welcome to the Foreign Tigers podcast with me, Louis.
And with me, Eric.
Welcome to the Foreign Tigers book club, where Eric and I take turns walking the other through a book we've been reading. Today we're diving into Apple in China, The Capture of the World's Greatest Company by Patrick McGee. Published this year on to an explosive reception, it explores Apple's deep, sometimes perilous, yet highly lucrative relationship with China. Now, before we get into the weeds of the book, I have to ask, what's your favorite Apple product if you have one?
Yeah, well, as you can see by my HP laptop and my Samsung phone, I'm a huge fan of Apple.
Yeah, the ecosystem is strong with you.
Yeah, the ecosystem.
Yeah, there's a whole kind of lore about the Apple ecosystem that just locks you in for life. iWatch, iPod, iPhone.
Yeah. Well, you see, growing up, I know what it's like to be in a cult. Because my dad was in one, the Apple cult.
Okay, we're a cult now.
Yeah. And I remember, I think we had, not Apple II, but Macintosh II, one of the twos. Really early, looked like a kind of beige-colored block. And it was cool because there's some kind of game with little geometric shapes, and I love that. So we've always had Apple computers. I don't know what it was that changed my mind. Maybe it was seeing new versions come out with what are those things? You couldn't just put a USB in it, right?
Oh yeah, they removed some ports. So you had to buy a dongle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what's this?
There was
it's the principle that counts, man.
It makes sense.
And then I got here, and I'm just when we're in Korea, so when in Rome.
Yeah, Samsung all the way. The state of Samsung.
Yeah, but to answer the original question, because I definitely was an Apple person at one point.
Okay.
Probably the iPod, the original iPod. That was just such a cool product.
I agree.
It actually looked really good. It felt good, and the function was clear. I think that for me was one of the first times I held a piece of a device, and I felt this is technology.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. There was a meme recently about being a 90s kid, and there was a digital camera, an iPod, and a flip phone, and it was our pockets were heavy, but our hearts were free. And I was just that's so true. The pockets were heavy, but we weren't tied to one device.
And that's why I needed cargo shorts back then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't rock those anymore.
Oh, I mean, hence the back then, hence the qualifier.
So my favorite Apple product, comes from 2010. Almost, 15 years ago now. I queued up overnight outside an Apple store in the UK with my friends to make sure I was the first person, at least at that particular Apple store, to get an iPhone 4 on release day. I just loved that thing. The design was beautiful, and all of the hype that they had when it got stolen, a test prototype got stolen, and Steve Jobs was like, "No, have you seen this before?" I just bought straight into it. So iPhone 4, my favorite. Okay, so to briefly summarize the book, Apple used to make its own devices in Apple-owned factories. But as it grew, it transformed and led the tech industry by outsourcing manufacturing to specialized partners like Foxconn. This move allowed Apple to scale rapidly, cut costs, and focus on design and innovation, while mostly Chinese factories handled assembly and logistics. The result? Apple became a model for global supply chain management, influencing how tech products are made worldwide. The book concludes by examining how companies like Huawei and Xiaomi, who use the same suppliers, have grown and even surpassed Apple and entered new arenas, mainly electric vehicles. To paraphrase Patrick McGee, Apple has made the calamitous and rookie mistake of putting all its eggs in one basket, this basket being China, and the basket turned into a surveillance state. Meaning Apple now plays a not insignificant role in US-China strategic competition, which is why a few weeks ago we saw Tim Cook at the White House presenting President Trump a gift of gold and US-manufactured glass. Now, Eric, do you have any thoughts on that, and how much were you aware of Apple's role in reshaping global supply chains and helping bridge the divide between the US and China?
Well, regarding the gold gift, the glass gift, I mean, that's a time-honored...
Golden glass.
Golden glass, right. Glass and gold. That's a time-honored tradition going back to
Oh,
Washington. It's just, kowtowing to our presidents and presenting them with extremely pricey gifts. So, I'm very glad.
It's always been done.
Yeah,
it's
always been that way. We've always been at war with Eurasia. So I'm glad that they've kept that tradition alive. Regarding global supply chains, so that part's interesting. And so, of course, I know about how. I mean, it's really interesting. There is a symbiotic relationship between the U.S. and China. I mean, now we're diverging from that, but certainly during the 90s, 2000s, pretty much up until, the late 2010s, so much of our growth and China's growth was connected. And what was that factor that connected them? It was manufacturing, and what do we get in return for it? Of course, cheap products. But as far as Apple's specific role, I don't know.
Still a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, so I know, of course, like that they're one of many companies, but I think as, exactly what role they played, that's something I'm still curious to know.
Wow, that's a perfect book for you. So let's start with a little bit of history just to orient ourselves. So Apple's journey began in 1976 in Steve Jobs' childhood home in Los Altos, California. I probably pronounced that wrong. Los Altos? You don't know?
I don't know. I'm from the East Coast.
Fair enough. When Jobs and Steve Wozniak built the Apple I, Wozniak engineered the hardware, Jobs handled marketing, and Ronald Wayne provided the administrative support. The Apple I was sold as a fully assembled circuit board, but required users to add their own case, power supply, and peripherals, things like mouse, keyboard, etc. But it was the Apple II, designed by Wozniak, that became one of the first successful mass-produced microcomputers, and its launch in 1977 marked a significant early success for Apple and personal computing. Apple's focus on user-friendly design and technological innovation set it apart and positioned it for future leadership in consumer electronics. However, by the mid-1980s, Steve Jobs became a divisive figure at Apple. Tensions grew between Jobs and then CEO John Sculley over management and product direction. In 1985, Apple's board sided with Sculley, stripping Jobs of his operational duties. Feeling marginalized, Jobs resigned and started Next, a company focused on higher-end computer workstations. Apple struggled after Jobs left, facing declining sales, loss of innovation, and growing competition. By the mid-1990s, it was on the brink of bankruptcy. But in 1996, Apple acquired Next, bringing Jobs back and leading to Steve's ascension to the role of CEO. He streamlined Apple's product line, prioritized innovation, and launched the 1998 iMac. This laid the groundwork for future hits like the iPad, iPhone, and iPad. Jobs' leadership transformed Apple into a globally influential and valuable company. Now, that was a lot to take in. Fun aside, Eric, do you like Toy Story?
Absolutely not.
No?
Traumatic.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
when they go to like the neighbor, like like the bad kids
Right.
room, and there's all those like mutant toys
Yeah.
living under the bed and stuff.
Your
Still-
room didn't look like that?
No. Mine was perfect. Was perfect. Still have nightmares from that.
Oh, no.
Dude, no, it's a great movie.
It's a
Yeah,
really
it's
good
classic.
movie. I still can't get Pizza Planet out of my head. Yeah, Toy Story was amazing. Although not my favorite Pixar movie.
Oh,
It's definitely WALL-E.
that is. Oh man, did you see it in theaters?
I don't think I did.
I didn't. I regret.
No.
I regret it so much.
I remember going to Disneyland Paris and making my girlfriend at the time take a picture of me between Eva and WALL-E, and me looking like the happiest child on earth. So that was great. Okay, so this ties into Steve Jobs. How, you ask? So in 1986, after being ousted from Apple, Jobs acquired the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm for $10 million, turning it into an independent company now known as Pixar. Jobs initially envisioned Pixar as a technology and hardware company, but hardware sales struggled, and it was animated shorts and commercials that kept the company afloat. Pixar's big break came from a partnership with Disney, resulting in a deal to produce 3 computer-animated feature films. The first, Toy Story in 1995, became the world's first computer-animated feature film and an unprecedented box office success. Jobs became more active in Pixar, taking up the role of CEO and championed its creative culture. Eric, how aware are you of Apple's Think Different ad?
Oh, I'm aware of it.
You're aware? Okay, good.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. That's one where they have like famous people, and it's just they have like
no
good,
products,
nice poses,
yeah,
and it's Think Different, and yeah, I think I vaguely remember that. What else? What else? They had like some really good ads, man.
Yeah,
really did.
they had.
What else did they have?
They had I'm a Mac and I'm a PC.
Oh, yeah,
I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. I used to love those adverts because they made computers which were rather nerdy at the time look cool.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Who did you aspire to be, Mac or PC?
Oh, definitely a Mac. And I actually, I think when I think about it, like, okay, so like, it was interesting how obvious they were about. Okay, so because let me rewind my brain.
Okay.
When you're trying to market a product, right? You are trying to explain to the user that they are missing something in their life, and your product can help.
You need this.
Can fill that void.
This is going to help you.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting how, and usually the thing that it helps you with is to be cool. It's like not be a nerd, right? It's like, oh, like I can finally like get the girl, or like be cool, have people like me, be attractive. It's about your self-worth. And I think it's so interesting how obvious and not subtle those ads were. They're just like, hey, like you can either be this nerd of a PC, or you can be a Mac guy and be cool.
Or even the Think Different one. It's like, we think differently. We're like Einstein. It's like, not everyone's an Einstein. Right. You can't buy an Apple computer and become an Einstein.
Yeah, I just wonder if those ads would work today, or if they only worked in that specific time.
That's a good question. I think we're all too cynical now.
Yeah.
I think we'd watch it and be like, I'm not buying your thing.
Right.
I'm smart enough already. Well, and we're definitely in like a TikTok, everyone's kind of a star in their own silo era, right? Everyone's got their own feed, can pick what they want. So I don't need to be a star in your silo. I'm a star in mine.
Yeah. And there was like an underdog feeling to Apple at the time, even though they were a large company already. I feel like they had they fit into that mold as this like up and coming company.
I agree. They definitely were channeling, we're the underdog here. And in real life, they actually were. So a little bit about the advert. After Steve Jobs' return to Apple, the company launched the iconic Think Different commercial in 1997, signaling a new era of innovation and self-confidence. The campaign celebrated rebels, visionaries, and nonconformists, figures like Albert Einstein, who I mentioned earlier, Martin Luther King Jr., and Amelia Earhart, and positioned Apple as the brand for creative minds who dared to challenge the status quo, all things that we picked up on in our discussion. So, but this is where the book gets its first juicy Apple China moment. Outside of Asia, the ad included the Dalai Lama, the Buddhist spiritual leader in exile from Tibet since 1959. The New York Times reported that he was conspicuously absent from the Asian version of the ad for fear of offending China. I'll quote directly from the book now. It's the first known instance of Apple kowtowing to China. There would be many more to come. And it's worth noting that Apple said at the time that this wasn't the case and that they believed the Dalai Lama just wasn't well known in Asia. But it's at this part of the book where I really got interested in the interplay between Apple and China. Now, Eric, what do you think about this particular moment in Apple's history? And you didn't mention whether you actually liked the Think Different ad and what it kind of signified.
Well, I think it's interesting, not just because of what Apple is doing, but like I think some of these trends are pretty obvious now, where we see companies. Well, maybe this is not the case now. I haven't lived in the U.S. for a bit, but I remember around the time when I left, which was in 2018, late 2018, there was a lot more You could tell that things like especially film,
Mm.
the content had changed to like
Right.
include Chinese stars or
Mm. always
themes that were in which China played some kind of role that
Yeah,
was
there's always a location
beneficial.
in China that fits the plot
right.
very well. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's this like movie. What was it? Like Arrival. It was about aliens and like translating aliens, and like China just comes in and
Oh yeah.
they're like, no, like don't hurt the aliens. And,
I've not seen this movie.
Anyways, there's like you could just kind of see that, and I think it's interesting to know when that started because because no one would know that, right? Like that, and like you wouldn't notice the Dalai Lama is missing from your ad.
Sure, yeah, exactly. That global perspective, like this ad
Yeah.
had the Dalai Lama in it.
Yeah.
This ad doesn't.
Right, and certainly
Why?
not in Asia where there's absolutely no Buddhists whatsoever.
Yeah, of course.
Or people who just know about the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, they don't know who he is at all.
Yeah, no, I haven't met a single person here who knows who he is.
Mm. It's definitely interesting. Like the advert, it signals and kind of is very different, from a lot of adverts now, right? You see an advert for a fridge, you see the ice maker, you see the amount of space that it's got. But Apple, comparing a computer to a fridge is a bit crude, but it works. They didn't show a product. Really, we think differently, and I think that says something about the time that we were in, and the style of movies that you mentioned, and everything that we were talking about.
Right. Oh yeah. Actually, something that like popped in my head. I feel like there was a certain like mood in the air at that time that. Like, I'm trying to think. I mean, I wasn't a huge movie person, but, some really popular movies, late 90s, were like The Matrix, Fight Club, which were really, down with the system. Like, everything's an illusion that's being hoisted up by...
It wasn't just a cool dude that could slow time down.
No. And it wasn't just a friendly Fight Club.
Oh,
yeah.
I missed the plot completely.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, there's like, I think some of the themes at the time... that's what The Matrix is about in Fight Club. It is about think different.
Yeah,
so
it's very true.
It is like interesting. Well, one, how there's this kind of spirit of rebellion at that time in our culture, and in Apple's, Apple recognizing that in the culture or driving that in the culture into great success on their part. But at the same time, they're already adjusting their behavior.
Absolutely.
And, not really thinking differently, but kind of paving the way for this future of obsequience. Oh my God. Sorry. Pardon my pronunciation. To,
it's okay.
Powers
Let's not
that
get
be.
into the aluminum debate.
I mean, there's a correct answer on that, but...
I'm sure. Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. I mean, maybe Apple didn't have this this massive manufacturing outsourcing strategy in their mind at that time. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall and tried to play nice, but maybe I can't imagine that anyone really thought about the scale of things to come and something that we now think of as kind of normal, like this, of course everything's made in China. Like, at the time, it just wasn't, very in its infancy. Okay, so we're thinking about moving on to talking about manufacturing and the crux of the book. I think it's probably a good time to conclude part one, as the next section is rather meaty. This concludes part one of our two-part look at the book Apple in China, part of the Foreign Tigers Book Club series. Thanks for listening, and see you in part